Lisa Marie Mishtak. I've come to Samburu County to find out about Josephine's campaign to end child marriage in her community.
We rescue girls from 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds, place them in a safe home and educate them.
Samburu, the fight against child marriage. At bbcworldservice.com/documentaries. At bbcworldservice.com, the forum.
Palmares, the 17th century community of people seeking freedom from slavery in Brazil, which lasted longer than any other settlement of its type. So how did it endure for over a century? And why does it remain iconic to this day?
World Book Club is next. This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Coming up, it's World Book Club with me, Harriet Gilbert. And this month, as part of our series exploring the exuberance of youth, we're talking with the award-winning American author Ben Lerner about his beguiling debut novel, Leaving the Atocha Station. Brilliant, unreliable young American poet Adam Gordon is on a fellowship in Madrid where he's struggling to establish his identity and dazzle his contemporaries. The research he's meant to be doing becomes instead a meditation on authenticity. Are his relationships with the people he meets in Spain, especially the two clever and beautiful women to whom he's attracted, as fraudulent as he fears his poems are? And as a witness to the 2004 Madrid train bombings, is he participating in history or merely watching it pass him by? A very funny, self-lacerating coming-of-age novel that, when it was published a decade ago, marked the launch of a major new literary talent. That's World Book Club with Ben Lerner after the news.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. Liz Truss has chaired her first cabinet meeting as British Prime Minister. Ministers were expected to have discussed how to deliver on Ms Truss's priorities. In her inaugural speech on Tuesday, she said these included helping people with energy costs, a promise underlined by the deputy.
They've already raised them up to 1.75%. There are expectations that they're going to go up again next week. So their next meeting is next Thursday, up by another 0.5% to 2.25%. And just to put this into perspective, Ian, it's not that long ago, back in February, that market expectations for where interest rates were going to head this year were up to maybe 1.5%, actually not this year, but peaking at 1.5%. As it is, they are already above that, as you know, and they are expected to go even higher. And right now, I just looked at this yesterday, the latest expectation is that they're going to get up to 4.5% by next year. So it's been an extraordinary shift in monetary policy, an extraordinary shift in interest rates, and a big shift in what the Bank of England is facing and how they're dealing with it right now. And on top of that, of course, big question marks for Andrew Bailey about the way that the Bank of England has conducted its monetary policy. Liz Truss, amongst others, but obviously she is now the Prime Minister, has said during the campaign that she was concerned that they didn't act fast enough and tough enough on inflation. And there are concerns definitely shared amongst members of her economic team that the bank wasn't hawkish enough, as they would say in the city. So I think, there will be some interesting questions for the governor. And of course, there's also the chief economist and Catherine Mann, an external member of the committee, who's been making some interesting remarks about how much the government needs potentially to intervene given what's happening with energy prices. So, yeah, this will be an interesting one, especially coming just ahead of PMQs, coming ahead of that announcement that we're likely to get from the government tomorrow on energy prices as well.
Ed, we're obviously expecting this massive fiscal intervention from the government, potentially £100 billion or more being thrown at supporting households and businesses through this cost of living crisis and insulating them from higher energy prices. I thought what happened on the gilt market yesterday, UK government bonds, was very, very interesting. I mean, clearly markets are now pricing in higher borrowing costs for the UK.
Yeah, big time. I mean, the government was selling some of its debt yesterday. It managed to get it away pretty well, OK? So, if you're concerned about the government being able to sell its debt, well, it's still able to find buyers for it. But, as you say, at pretty high rates, up above 3% for just a few years' worth of borrowing, which is higher than you see in most of Europe and higher than in many other countries around the world. But, as you say, that's the reality of a situation where you have a government which is ready to spend hundreds potentially of billions of pounds. And just to put that into perspective, that is more what we're talking about and what has been kind of, discussed about what they're likely to do, freezing energy bills at a certain level. It almost certainly will be more expensive than the furlough scheme. And up until the furlough scheme, that was the single biggest intervention that we've had in peacetime in this country. All of which goes back to Andrew Bailey in a way, because when the government is spending more in Westminster, all else equal, that tends to push up the amount of cash flowing around in the economy and means that if you're a central bank, you have to do more about it. And that's part of the reason, I think, that investors think that interest rates are going to get so high, compared, I should say, with where they thought previously. 4.5% isn't high in historical standards, not at all, actually. It's below what used to be considered the kind of trend rate of interest. But it's still a long way above where it was only a few years ago, and is a big shock potentially for many borrowers who kind of assumed that they were going to be going up to maybe 2% at the highest level. So his reaction about that, I suspect, being a central banker, they're like this. He'll be a little bit enigmatic about, he'll definitely be quizzed. The government's about to do some stuff. What are you going to do about it? Is that going to kind of feed into your decision making? He will, I'm sure, say, we'll have to wait and see what they have to come up with. But I know that behind the scenes at the bank, they are genuinely concerned about inflation and having this spiral where potentially you have wage setters setting higher wages. Obviously, individually, everyone would like higher wages right now. But the risk that they see is that you start to get a spiral. So higher wages chasing higher prices, and then wages go even higher still. And then in turn, you just never bring inflation under control. That's to some extent what happened in the 1970s. It is their biggest fear inside the bank. And on top of that, if you have the government spending a lot more money, then that in turn means you may have to raise interest rates even more. So there are so many interesting dynamics. And the other interesting dynamic that I'm sure will come up is the question of the bank's remit. So it has a remit, it has independence to set interest rates, but it has a remit that's set by the government. You have to keep inflation as close as possible to 2%. What if Liz Truss, Kwasi Kwarteng decide that they're going to change that remit? That is something that she has talked about, she's discussed during the campaign. I would say that's something that investors might find quite nerve-wracking. Even if the remit itself is going to be a more sensible one in the future, when you go changing these things at moments when everyone is nervous, when inflation's in double digits, then that's the kind of thing that everyone gets a little bit nervous about. So we will, I doubtless that, again, that will come up. But put all of that together, and it's such an interesting kind of collection of issues that the bank is having to deal with and having to discuss right now. And on top of everything else, relations between Threadneedle Street, the Bank of England, and Westminster, at times they've been slightly uncomfortable. But I suspect in the next few years, if the bank's going to be raising interest rates to levels that are genuinely painful, and the government is wanting to avoid a recession, that relationship could get pretty spicy. And historically, you'll know, Ian, historically, there certainly has been a lot of tension between central banks, independent central banks, and politicians. So do we see a return to that? Again, an interesting kind of issue that doubtless will come up.
Absolutely. Worth pointing out, Ed, that the international context to this, while inflation appears sticky here in the UK, it's a problem everywhere. And we're probably going to get an interest rate rise from the European Central Bank tomorrow. Eurozone inflation also markedly ahead of their target rate.
Yeah, ECB also looking like it's going to hike. They're kind of a bit lower at the moment, but I think they're talking about maybe 75 basis points, so 0.75%. So a bigger increase than we're kind of expecting from the bank, but they're starting from a kind of lower base. And the Federal Reserve, of course, is raising interest rates as well. All around the world, central banks are doing this. All around the world, they have been, faced with this enormous increase in energy costs. And we've discussed this in your programme before, at length. Energy costs get everywhere, and that is basically what's happening right now. It's feeding into inflation. Inflation's getting a lot higher, and as a result of that, you have a central bank which is raising interest rates, but at the same time saying, we're not entirely sure how much difference this is going to make. And think back, another final thing to say that doubtless Andrew Bailey is going to get quizzed on. Think back to that last monetary policy reports, the last set of forecasts we had from the Bank of England, just in August last month. They were extraordinary because the bank was forecasting a recession. I can't remember another time the bank has actually forecast a recession outside of a recession. So they are now forecasting a recession. They're forecasting an incredibly tough period for many people around the UK economy. how do you set policy in that situation? How do you balance out the fact that, you know, the central bank is facing a recession, but at the same time has really high inflation? Do you raise interest rates into it? Do you think, oh, actually, people aren't going to be able to spend as much, therefore you don't need interest rates quite as high as you would do otherwise? So some really interesting balancing acts going on, and an incredibly tough job. I mean, Andrew Bailey has been through a pretty, you know, bit of a roller coaster already, starting with COVID and now coming onto this energy price hike. We will have to see how his relationship with Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng goes, given what she and they have insinuated about how the bank's conduct has been thus far. So very interesting times, I think, at the bank, especially given what's going on right now in Whitehall. And I say interesting, you know, in economic terms, I think a lot of people will find this kind of interesting, but for most people, looking at the state of their finances, looking at what's happening with energy bills right now, I think what people will be looking for is a sense of reassurance that both the government and the Bank of England understand the scale of what they're facing and are ready to do whatever it takes to deal with it. So the next couple of days, I think, and next week with the Bank of England will be really interesting.
All right, Ed, thanks for that. Well, look, stay with us for the time being while we wait for that committee hearing to get underway. But in the meantime, a busy first full day at work for the new Prime Minister today, with the Cabinet meeting just wrapped up and Prime Minister's questions to come at midday. Joining me now is our political correspondent, Tamara Cohen, who's in Downing Street. Tamara, any readout from the Cabinet meeting?
Morning, Ian. No, not quite yet. We're expecting one soon. It was an hour-long Cabinet meeting. Almost all of those around the Cabinet table new to their jobs and new to the Cabinet, including Kwasi Kwarteng, now installed at number 11 as the Chancellor, and he has been meeting chief executives of banks and insurance companies this morning and will meet the Governor of the Bank of England this afternoon. He will know the full details of the energy package that Liz Truss is going to be announcing, we understand, to Parliament tomorrow, and now expecting it to be some kind of freeze of bills across the board, something that she'd ruled out earlier in the campaign. So we've now seen some pictures of them sitting around the Cabinet table, all smiles. Not clear yet whether they were given the full details of that package, which is, of course, going to set the tone for her time in office. We're told by her team that it will be shock and awe, something really big and significant, but the details have not emerged from that yet. New jobs for James Cleverly at the Foreign Office, and new Education Secretary Kit Malthouse, the fifth in the space of a year. So these people are going to need to hit the ground running in all of their departments. And Liz Truss, of course, faces Keir Starmer at lunchtime. No doubt the Labour leader will want to focus on energy bills and perhaps accuse her of stealing his price freeze policy and ask her how she's going to pay for hers if she's ruled out a windfall tax. And I'm sure Liz Truss will want to have some choice lines in her back pocket in order to rally the benches behind her. Despite having a narrower victory in this contest than many pollsters had expected, her cabinet does not really reach out. There are hardly any supporters of Rishi Sunak, only one who I could mention, Michael Ellis, the Attorney General. So she has not reached out to her party and to her rival supporters in terms of appointing her cabinet, and managing her party, her very divided party, is going to be a big issue going forward.
OK, thanks, Tamara. Stay with us. We'll come back to you in a moment. But in the meantime, we have some very big and dramatic news from the world of football, which is that Chelsea Football Club have just sacked their manager, Thomas Tuchel. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel oversaw last night's unexpected defeat. 1-0 they lost in the Champions League to Dinamo Zagreb. That was actually Thomas Tuchel's 100th game in charge of Chelsea. And he said after the match, we're clearly not where we should be, and that is on me. So he was accepting an element of culpability for Chelsea's defeat last night. They've made something of a lacklustre start to the season in the Premier League, it has to be said, as well. And that's despite the fact, of course, that it was the biggest spending club in the Premier League during the close season. A lot of money lavished on new players. The club, of course, under new ownership now after Roman Abramovich was forced to sell following Russia's attack on Ukraine. The new US-backed consortium led by Todd Boehly, clearly somewhat impatient with progress under Mr. Tuchel, despite all that high spending, as I say. So, breaking news there. Thomas Tuchel sacked by Chelsea. Well, we're now going to cross over to Westminster, where MPs on the Treasury Select Committee are about to question the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. Let's listen in.
United States.
I'm Catherine Mann. I'm an external member of the Monetary Policy Committee.
Great, thank you. Well, welcome to you all. I'm just aware that we're very close to your next meeting of the MPC next week, when you'll also be telling us something more perhaps about interest rates. So I just did want to put on record our gratitude to the fact that you're still appearing before us, and also recognising the fact that nothing that you say today will be taken by anybody as indicative of anything that might be going to happen next week. That's all fully understood by us. Could I start? Actually, could I start with Hugh? Good morning. Goldman Sachs, you were a very senior economist at Goldman Sachs, and you'll be very aware of the comments that they've made on where inflation may go over the coming weeks and months, possibly, in their view at least, in excess of 20%. What do you make of that? Do you think that's within the realms of possibility, or is that just a bit of an outlier, do you think?
Well, I think the forecast they produced, I think, are a mechanical implication of developments in wholesale gas markets, under the assumption that those developments in wholesale gas markets would pass through into utility prices and thereby into the CPI, according to the rules of the game as they have existed over recent months and years. And I think it's an illustration of the fact of how big the shock to wholesale gas prices has been over the past year, and moreover, how big the increase from the assumptions that we made in our report.
Well, we're just going to break into that hearing of the Treasury Select Committee to bring you some more breaking news. This has just come out in the last few moments, and that is that Ryan Giggs, the former Manchester United and Wales footballer, is to face a retrial on domestic violence charges. That is a ruling from a judge at Manchester Crown Court that has just been announced. Ryan Giggs is to face a retrial on domestic violence charges. You'll remember, of course, that his most recent trial, the judge signed off the jurors after they were unable to come up with even a majority verdict. Now, we've seen reporting that suggests that if a retrial was to take place, speculation that it would not happen until June next year. We don't have any information on that as to when a retrial will take place, but that is the breaking news that's just come out of Manchester Crown Court. The former Manchester United and Wales footballer Ryan Giggs is to face a retrial on domestic violence charges.
We're now going back to the Treasury Select Committee. Created around any forecast for inflation by its dependence at present on very volatile developments in wholesale energy prices.
It sounds like you're not ruling out inflation really going well beyond your current forecasts.
Well, I think it depends on two things. What happens to wholesale gas prices, that's the mechanics of that, and what happens to the machinery by which those wholesale gas prices are translated into retail gas prices. I don't need to tell people around this table that that is something that is up for consideration at the moment in the political sphere, and we, and indeed my former colleagues in the city, will have to be reflective of that. We don't know where that is headed or what the mechanics of that will be, but given the magnitude of the changes, I think it seems reasonably clear to me that we will see changes, and that's definitely been foreshadowed.
Can I just switch to, we've got a new government now, we've got a new chancellor, we're about to have an emergency fiscal event, we think. What we're hearing is there's going to be some fairly substantial permanent tax cuts, maybe of the order of, some are saying 50, 60 billion, certainly 30 if you take corporation tax and national insurance, for example, plus a huge package of support, and some are speculating as much as £150 billion. I mean, you put all those things together, and that's a huge number. I mean, you can even get up to £250 billion under some estimates of what might happen. What sort of impact do you think that might have on inflation?
Of course, it depends very much on the details, and we don't have the details as yet. I mean, just to repeat a little bit the implications of my previous answer, wholesale gas prices have behaved in a very volatile way. They have risen very significantly over the past year. And indeed, they've risen very significantly and then fallen quite significantly since we did our August.
But I'm talking here about massive fiscal stimulus, tax cuts. And whilst you're right, we don't absolutely know the detail. I think we'd be pretty sure that the NI cut will occur, the corporation tax increases will be stopped, we can be pretty certain that there'll be a multiple tens of billions of pounds pumped into supporting consumers and businesses with their energy costs. So, I mean, is that something that concerns you? Do you think it's going to have some effect on inflation, or are you relaxed about that kind of scenario?
Well, I think we have to. I do think we have to see the details. I don't really want to comment in the absence of those details. What I would do is draw a distinction between two implications for inflation, and also emphasize that there may be differences between the impact on inflation today in the short term and the implications over the medium term. So one of the things that does seem to be under consideration, at least from what I gather from the headlines I see that we all see, is a change to the relationship between wholesale gas prices and retail gas prices in a direction that will lower headline inflation relative to what we were forecasting in our August report, where that relationship was based on the mechanics of the off-gem price gap and so forth that we all know about. So I think that in the short term would tend to weigh on inflation. Against that, some of the implications of supporting household incomes, particularly household incomes towards the less well-off households, would tend to support demand in the economy. And that, other things equal, would probably lead to slightly stronger inflation. Net, on the implications for headline inflation in the short term, I would expect that to see a decline. Right. The open question, and perhaps the more important question from a monetary policy point of view, is what are the implications of these changes and the other fiscal changes that you mentioned, which I don't have good insight into, but have also been flagged. I mean, what are the implications of those for inflation at the, what we typically label monetary policy relevant horizon, which is the horizon at which the lags in monetary policy unwind, decisions we make today, how they affect inflation in the future. And I think there, not only does it depend on the macroeconomic effects of the various fiscal changes that could be envisaged, which I think is the essence of your quote, where I think there's just too much uncertainty to have a strong view right now, given the lack of details. But it would also depend on whether, and if so, how, the introduction of some different form of price cap would be exited from.
Let's just go for that point for a second. So we don't know the nature of the support exactly, but it seems to me that speculation is it could be subsidies going into energy suppliers and effectively freezing at the new cap in October at that sort of level, so consumers are protected in that way. So with the borrowing effectively going into the suppliers to keep the price down, or you could have a model at the other end of the spectrum, I guess, where you allow the prices subject to the caps to go wherever it goes, and you put direct transfer payments into individuals and businesses to try and support them to cope with that. Of those two scenarios, is one of them broadly better for inflation than the other, and if so, why?
I think they potentially have different implications for inflation in the short term. So one thing that we have learned since the publication of our report is the decision of the ONS to treat the measures, which were more, if I understand correctly what you're saying, in the second scenario, the second speculation, to use your word that you used. I mean, those have been decided that those would not influence CPI inflation, the variable that we are targeting at the bank. They won't be included in the calculation, or their implications would not be taken out of the calculation of CPI. So there is an implication for inflation depending on which of those. Now, the point I was making in my previous answer is that it's that very short-term impact on inflation may not be the most important thing from the monetary policy point of view. The monetary policy point of view is what's the implication of the package of measures, which I think goes beyond what you have just speculated on, and in ways that I would not want to speculate on. It's not my responsibility, and I don't think it's really appropriate for me to do so at this occasion. But what are the implications of that for inflation at longer horizons?
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Andrew, as this all plays out, the markets are reacting. I'm thinking here about sterling and the bond markets, where we've seen the highest sort of yields on 10-year gilts for about a decade, 2011, I think. Does that worry you, and what do you think is going on there, and what concerns might you have around sterling and the bond markets?
Well, we have had, I think, volatile markets, and particularly volatile markets in the last, six weeks or so. And I think there are a number of reasons for that. I mean, one obvious one is the point that Hugh has been making, which is that, of course, we're seeing extreme volatility in energy markets. And I'm happy to come back to that point if you want with a reflection. And I think that is playing through, because it's not just in our markets. I think the second thing I would say is that I do. It's not for us to comment on what fiscal policy will be, and we'll wait and see what it is, and then, as he said, factor it into our assessment. But I do very much welcome the fact that there will be, as I understand it, announcements this week, because I think that will help to sort of, in a sense, frame policy, and that's important. And I think it's important there's a sort of clear way forward on policy. So I welcome that, because I think that is what will be important for markets to understand what is going to happen.
Well, why do you think the markets are getting a bit wobbly on UK debt and a bit sniffy about the pound? What do you think is going on there?
Well, I think there's a number of things going on. Some of them are UK specific and some of them are not. I think, as I say, on the UK specific point, I would just simply make the point that I think it is welcome that we will have a very clear policy stance, as I expect by the end of this week. I would say on the exchange rate that I think it's important that there are other factors at work there. I think there are dollar specific factors. So the dollar is strong against almost all currencies at the moment. And that's an important part of it. And that reflects the fact, I think, as we've discussed before, that the US is in the Federal Reserve is in a different situation. I mean, they don't have the same trade-off that we have and the ECB have in terms of inflation and activity. They're dealing much more with bringing under control a demand shock in that sense. And obviously taking aggressive action in response to that. And you'll have no doubt seen the speech that Chairman Powell made.
But why do you think that the markets are getting a bit twitchy at the moment on
well, my point was that part of the story is about the strength of the dollar.
Right.
Because you can trace that through. I mean, for instance, the movement of sterling is much greater against the dollar than it is against other currencies. So I think there's a part of the story that is not UK specific. It's actually a more general dollar story in the exchange markets. I think there is as I said, I think there is a UK story. Now, I think there are one or two reasons for that. I'll give them one, which is I welcome the fact that the government is going to set out its policy this week. Secondly, the UK is heavily exposed to gas prices. I mean, if you look at the relative exposures, the UK is a...
Do you think, Andrew, sorry to stop you there, do you think the markets are concerned about this fiscal event that's about to occur, the magnitude of what might be done, its affordability, its effect on inflation, that it might be quite inflationary? Do you think there's a concern out there about that? And if there is, do you share any of that?
My view on it at the moment is that it's more, I think it's more a sense of, we've obviously got through the process we have. We understand that process had to happen, and I think now it's important that we have policy laid out clearly. And all I sense is that will happen, and I welcome that.
All right. I want to come a bit later. I'm going to bring Angela in now because I know she has to go shortly, but I did want to ask Silvana and Catherine a few questions as well. But I'll go to Angela now.
I appreciate that, Chair. Governor, is inflation high because of excessive money supply?
I don't think that you can use the money supply in that sense, as some people do advocate, I know, as a sort of...
Right, we are just going to break into this hearing from the Treasury Select Committee to return now to the breaking news that we brought you a few moments ago, which is that the former Manchester United and Wales footballer Ryan Giggs is to face a retrial on domestic violence charges. The former footballer denied 2 counts of assault and 1 of using controlling behaviour about his former girlfriend. We're live now to Manchester and our chief North of England correspondent, Greg Milam. Greg, any idea when this is going to be?
Yeah, that trial will take place July the 31st next year, that retrial. It was a brief hearing this morning. Ryan Giggs wasn't in court, but the announcement that the Crown Prosecution Service had decided to seek a retrial. They say the complainant in this case, Kate Greville, Ryan Giggs' former partner, has shown a willingness to give evidence, and therefore they will seek that retrial, and it will take place next July. You'll remember that last week the jury in the trial here after 23 hours of deliberation, told the judge they were unable to reach a verdict on any of the 3 counts. They'd heard 2 weeks of evidence in the course of that trial on three charges of using controlling and coercive behaviour of Kate Greville over a 3-year period, a charge of assault causing actual bodily harm in an incident at their home in November 2020, and a charge of common assault against Kate Greville's sister Emma in that same incident in November 2020. Ryan Giggs had denied all 3 of those charges. His legal team say he intends to contest them once again, but we will do that trial again in July next year. They estimate it will last 3 to 4 weeks.
All right, thanks for that, Greg. Well, we're now going to return to the House of Commons and the Treasury Select Committee, which is hearing evidence from Andrew Bailey.
Welcome to Gabby Dave Global. We are a UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe. Welcome to Gabby Dave
SendWave
Global.
is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 074 98 820. Or you can visit our website www.worldlamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@worldlamp@gmail.com. World Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. The whole of darkness.
So what did that
myself and the world will adjust. And 2019,
forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on the CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Body is your man. Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harrison, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. But here, this is Starr Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here,
hi there, this is CJ Buckle, your life. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to it wherever you are.
Turn it on. Turn it up.
Broadcasting worldwide, online, 24/7.
All around the world. In your car,
at work,
at home.
This on your smartphone.
Radio
UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and The Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr Radio
UK. Broadcasting worldwide, online, 24/7.
Welcome.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
You are listening to Starr Radio Morning Show.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh nyame yeah. Kase. Send me share baby I would me free. Na me share baby I would me kwa.
Let me once again say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Those of you on other planets as well, we want to salute each and every one of you and welcome you to the Wednesday edition of the morning show on Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Today is the 7th day of September, the year 2022, with the time now 10:40. Of course, a Wednesday edition of the morning show. And let me say, let me say good morning to my team. Mr. Olaimi Kweki working behind the scenes once again. Mr. Frank Davis behind the scenes, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy, with me here doing all the production. I salute each and every one of you, and once again I say welcome to the show. Well, to Moses, Sir Moses, good morning to you. Anthony Nidaji in the US of A, good morning to you. Aziz, good morning. Especially good morning also go to Jacino all the way in Moscow. Now to my listeners in the Americas, those of you in Europe, those of you in Asia, those of you in Australia and on the African continent, saluting each and every one of you, especially those of you in Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, South Africa. Chantal, long time no here. I hope you're all doing very, very well in that office. And raking in the money for that insurance company, right? I'm not mentioning the name. Ha ha. Amen. Good morning to you too. But do me a massive favor, share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages as well. Playing in the background, something from Edith Morrison. Everything that I need comes from you, my lovely listeners. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only. Okay, so for those of you who have just tuned in for the first time on this platform, this is how the program goes on the Wednesday morning. Well, the quote for the day, as you know, will follow suit, then the travel update. We'll move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. Exactly at 11 o'clock, I'll be bringing you updates from Nigeria due to the fact that Mr. Olaimi Koiki is a bit under the weather and therefore he's just doing production behind the scenes, so he will not be presenting. But I make sure that whatever information I just put across, I put across to you as well. And then after that, we'll look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. At 11:30, I'll open the lines for you to add your voice to the discussion if need be, if you want to do so, or you just want to post your comments on our Facebook page or our Twitter or YouTube channel, whatever you want to do, just will allow you to do so. Then at 12 o'clock, the curtains are brought down for the end of the first part of the program. We'll take you straight to the House of Parliament here in the UK, Westminster Palace, where the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, will be facing the leader of opposition in the Prime Minister's question time for the first time. So it's going to be historic event there, and I want you to be part of it. 12 o'clock, we take you straight there, and after that, we bring the curtains to the close for the end of the program. So in the gist, that's what we're going to be looking at. Press with time, but you are promised of one thing for sure. If you are standing, hold on to something. Sitting, sit very comfortably, buckle up. Get yourself a hot or cold drink, whichever is appropriate, and let's take this journey. Not a journey onto the unknown, but journey to the known. With Archie in the helm, everything is gonna be, of course, alright.
Archie on Starr Radio. Nobody does it better.
Okay, now let's move on. Now, when it comes to the quote for the day, say we may belong to different religions, denominations, my apologies. Yet we face the same challenges today, of course. It doesn't matter whether you are blue or white or tall or short or big or slim or size 0 or size 100, whichever it is. We are all facing the same enemy. But stay with me here, as the good book says. David said to a servant, one from the priesthood, they stay with me here, for with me here there is safety. All right, of course, Saturday will bring you all the news that you need to get, you need for your life to go on. All right, then, so welcome once again. Let's crack on straight to the weather front. Let me tell you what is happening on the weather front. I've been enjoying the weather. When it's cold like that, I think, whoa, yes, that is the time for me to now have a break. And I can even have a bit of a sleep there. Okay, so when it comes to the weather front, this weather has in store for us today. For London and the southeast of England, this afternoon we'll see a mix of sunny spells, patchy cloud, and isolated showers. It will be a warm day. Now tonight will start dry with plenty of clear spells. However, a band of cloud along with showers will push in from the south later. The showers will be heavy in places, but warm but windy. Temperature is going to be 22 degrees, the lower is going to be 14 degrees. Pollen level is going to be low, UV level moderate, and pollution low as well. Sunset is going to be 1934, and sunrise for tomorrow morning 06:22 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast. Everything that I need. 10:46 the time. We're going to take a short break and I'll bring you the travel updates. So stay tuned, don't you go away. I'll make sure that I bring you the rest of that music. But for now, let's take a quick break and I bring you Laptu.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, and we're keeping navigated. You hear that sound, you know that it's now time for the travel updates. Okay, so what is happening on your travels this morning? Well, for those of you traveling on the underground, I can tell you on the Beckerloo line there are severe delays between Queen's Park and Harrow and Wheatstone due to an earlier electrical fault in Kensal Green area. Now, London buses are accepting tickets via any reasonable routes, and there are minor delays on the rest of the line, so check before you leave. On the central line as well, there are minor delays between Leytonstone and Bond Street westbound only due to an earlier customer incident. Good service on the rest of the line. We also have on the Elizabeth line severe delays between Paddington and Heathrow terminals, Reading, while they fix a signal failure in the Paddington area. London Underground and London buses are accepting tickets by any reasonable routes. Good service on the rest of the line. Aside, all the other underground lines have got good service. DLR London Tramlink, good service, but London Overground has also got a bit of severe delays there between Watford Junction and Euston, and severe delays between Stratford and Richmond Clapham Junction due to an earlier electrical fault in Kensal Green area. Good service on all other routes. Now let's move on straight to the river bars. On the river bar, my apologies, the major routes in London. Well, A4 Central London Red Route, South Circular A205 have all got closures, and North Circular A406 has got serious delays. If you can avoid it, do your best to avoid that. Now hopping on straight to the river bars whilst you keep your eyes on the roads. Now on the river bars this morning, apart from the Woolwich Ferry that is suspended, all the others have got good service. You got it. Now moving on straight to the London Cable Car, good service throughout there as well. Now final segment, let's move on straight to the National Rail. So on the National Rail this morning, what have we got in stock for you? Avanti West Coast has got reduced service. Chiltern Railway's major disruption, landing Marylebone. And then cross country has got minor delays and on some routes. That we've got Elizabeth Line, that one that I put across already. Now Great Northern Railways have got minor delays on some routes as well. Great Western Railway, minor delays on some routes. And Great Anglia, minor delays on some routes. Heathrow Express, minor delays on some routes. And then Island Line has also got buses replacing trains between Ryde, Pierhead and Shankin, expected until 19 hours. Now London North Eastern Railway has also got minor delays on some routes as well. Now London Overground, yes, I talked about that. Now ScotRail has got minor delays on some routes. South Western Railway, minor delays on some routes as well. First Transpender and Express has also got amended timetable that is impacting travel, so check before you leave. That aside, all the others have got good service. But keep your dial so logged on Star Radio UK, and as I will say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today, but you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
And all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiac. Welcome to Gabby Dave Global. We are a UK-based online e-commerce store, the first of its kind with license to trade in African products. Some of the products are clothing brands and all beauty accessories, hair and beauty brands, natural aphrodisiacs, processed and dried unprocessed food. Our mission at Gabby Dave is to connect African and Caribbean businesses to customers globally. At Gabby Dave, we ensure our sellers get the best deal for their products. We are not just here to help you reach a wider audience. We are also a distribution center to support business growth by fulfilling orders to your customers from our warehouse, making sure customers receive their products on time. We are inviting all Black-owned businesses to trade on our platform because we strongly believe Africans have a unique brand the customer would appreciate globally. So get in touch today and let us make your product and business go far. Here are some of the benefits of using Gabby Dave Global. User-friendly platform, track your shipment, online support, transparent process, multiple SKUs, multiple products, a platform that encourages manufacturers as well as traders. Our marketing and PR interventions amplifies yours. Organized products and categories for easy access and navigation. Access to global community, especially within UK and Europe. Welcome to Gabby Dave Global.
In London. Yes, those of you who missed a bit there, I know that those of you who are listening or watching us live on our apps, they didn't miss anything, but those of you on the social media platform would have missed there. But I say welcome back. 7 minutes to the top of the hour at the time, the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Archie here, due to Mr. Olaimiko being under the weather, he will not be live. Okay. Yes, we want him to just rest. The White Lion need a bit of rest there, right? Okay, so now let's crack on. Well, so when it comes to some of the stories making the rounds on our global trotting This is what we're going to be looking at when it comes to Nigeria. They are plotting to get rid of Tinubu, make Shatima president. What is all that about? We'll be looking into that. Is it a ploy by the North again? Some will say that is why they think that the best way forward is to get Nigeria, to get the Yorubas out or break it so that everybody can go their own way. But the thing is, if you don't like the constitution, how do you even get up to change it? Because those who form a majority in the Senate are from the North and they are not ascribing to it. But you don't know. One day, something might change there. Something might click. Well, all right then. Now, Tinubu security personnel take over Buhari house. Security personnel take over Buhari house. Well, we'll be looking into that story as well. Why are they taking over Buhari house? Now, no stray dogs allowed here. Fani Kayode, Dino Malaye fight dirty. And then PDP article turn over Tambuwa Ojinlola Ogwanyi as campaign heard. And the emerging NSCDC police will be crime against Nigeria Kedov. And then Awolowo's daughter raises alarm, alleges a plot to eliminate Tinubu if he wins 2023 election. But as I said, I'll be bringing you more on that from Peter Obi denies receiving $150 million from the diaspora, and Boko Haram banditry may end church in Nigeria if PFN president. Okay, we'll be bringing you more on that front. But wherever you are, stay tuned. In other parts of the world as well, as I brought you that story. But let me quickly. Auditor General must be empowered to prosecute. That's what Dafemapo is saying. And until Galamsey fight, government is in control. That's what someone seems to be saying. He's the deputy lands minister. Is he sure about what? Security officials who arrested Aisha Wang must not be victimized. Security officials who arrested Aisha Wang must not be victimized. We'll be looking into that. Why are they saying so? How has Aisha Wang just resurfaced like that? We'll bring you more on that front. It seems that Ghanaians are celebrating the appointment of Kwesi Kwarteng as the Chancellor of the Exchequer by Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. We'll be looking into that. But more questions coming your way. It is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. High Court dismisses UEW's application for abridgment of time on registrar's leave, and block SIM card can only be retrieved within 6 months. NCA is saying when it comes to Ghana, elections of mayors will reduce pressure on MPs. Professor Awotwe is saying that. Aisha Wang does not exist in our system. NIA denies issuing Ghana card. But well, Aisha Wang, there's a picture of Aisha Wang with an national identification card. So Aisha Wang has become a Ghanaian, right? Is she married to a Ghanaian or what? Because of investment there? Well, okay, we'll be looking more into that as well. It's all going to be coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Moving on straight to other stories. Uganda bans immoral music festival linked to sex, drugs, and LGBTQ plus. All right, then we'll be looking into that as well. Kenya Ruto faces a divided country for sure. He needs to, I don't know how he's going to do so, but he needs to bring both sides on board so that will be the way forward for them. At least one dead in latest anti-UN protests in DR Congo. All right then. All coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right, now moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds across the world. Now, Putin says sanctions fever wrecks European lives. That's what Putin is saying. Russia president says his country is coping with the embargo while European jobs are going. Of course, that's what he's going to say. He has tried to get some cushioning, and he's selling and trading with China, trading with some states. He's trading with Iran. He can trade with North Korea and stuff like that. Well, and he's just pumping the gas, letting the gas out. He said they've got too much. You need to just get it to escape. But well, here we see hard times because of that, and he is now mocking. The sanctions fever wrecks European lives. So he doesn't give a monkey's about that. All right then. So coming away from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now moving on straight to some other stories. Yeah. Here in the UK, Truss holds first cabinet meeting after sweeping reshuffle. Later, the new Prime Minister will face Labour Sir Keir Starmer at PMQs, where she will be grilled on her plans to deal with energy prices. I hope that she is one who can speak up and then be able to defend her policies that she wants to put across. And Truss rewards allies with top cabinet roles. Kwesi Kwarteng is made Chancellor, and Therese Coffey, Deputy Prime Minister, as Liz Truss unveils her top team. We'll be looking into that. We'll be bringing them out. And do you think they're going to be doing any good? And Coffey's abortion views concerning, people have already raised concerns about Coffey's abortion views, especially when she's going to be in charge of the NHS, the health ministry. So that is a big one there. And Ryan Giggs to face a retrial after jury discharge. That's a story that is also making the round. Just broke this morning. Colossal number of firms may fail in energy crisis. More than 25,000 businesses could collapse or cut jobs without bill support, experts are warning. So what is the way forward? Well, you want to know more? Just stay tuned. Don't go away. Let's enjoy this tune. This time round from Theodora Gospel, and then we'll continue. It said, it is well. Whatever it is well, isn't it?
It is well with
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car,
At work,
at home,
on your smartphone.
Are you ready to turn it up?
Star Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
Yes, it is well with my soul. I hope that is well with your soul. You feel a bit relieved there, but whatever it is, you know what? Life. God gives us grace, whatever you believe in. I mean, we have that grace and we are able to live. I mean, how you even slept, how you woke up, you're not very sure of it. You might be under the weather, but you have your life. And once you have life, there is hope for you. So, yes, it is well with our souls, and let's get on with it. All right, then. Somebody said, get on with what? Yeah. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. It's now time for update from Nigeria. As I said earlier, Mr. Laimi Koike is a bit under the weather, so we allow him to rest. He's just working behind the scenes, providing me with all the stories that I need to put across. So I'm going to do diligence to that. But for now, he's going to be resting, and therefore tonight there's not going to be Niger Voices, okay? Those of you, God willing, next week we'll be bringing you Niger Voices once it's well and all recouped. All right? Well, that is all Starr Radio UK. Now let's move on straight to the stories making the rounds in Nigeria. As I did say earlier on, no stray dogs allowed here. Fanny Kayode is saying, and we've told Britain, others, what will happen to Nigeria if Northern becomes president. Who is speaking? That is a scary one. We'll be looking into that. Okay, and Tinubu mistaking Nigeria for Lagos may not get Northern votes. That's what the APC is saying. It's quite some tough stories that is making the rounds there. But let me bring you the first one. Well, they are plotting to get rid of Tinubu and make Shetima president, Awolowo's daughter is saying. Now, Tokumbo Awolowo Dusumu, the daughter of Nigeria's nationalist and statesman Obafemi Awolowo, has alleged of plot to get rid of Bola Tinubu, the All Progressive Congress APC presidential candidate, if he wins the 2023 election. She alleged that there was a plot to get rid of Tinubu and install his running mate Kashim Shetima as president. Awolowo's Dusumu claimed that the plot may be perfected immediately after the 2023 swearing in. She said those behind the plot will take advantage of Tinubu's medical conditions. Now, Awolowo Dosumu appealed to Yorubas to stop being sentimental and tribalists about the three major candidates contesting for the office of the presidency. They are plotting against Tinubu. Yoruba should wake up. They are aware of Tinubu's medical conditions. All they are planning is immediately after handing over and swearing in, they are going to get rid of Tinubu, and Shetima will be your next president if you are not careful. Yorubas have to wake up and not allow emotions to lead us, she told newsmen. But interestingly, who told you all Yorubas want Tinubu to run for it? Because some are just calling for the break of the country so they can go their own separate ways. So what is she talking about there? Well, somebody will say, we've talked about Tinubu, and we talked about his age. We talked about the fact that he's not been well. I remember back in the time he was here in the UK for a very long time, but now he's back in the country, running around, saying that he's all fit. So, what ailment has he got? What medical condition has he got? Can it be made available? Or, well, they are wrapping it behind under the sheets, and therefore we cannot see whatever is going to go on. But well, this is a statement that has come. What do you think? Do you think that is a plot? Well, somebody say it's plausible because, well, Tinubu is old. He's got some underlying health issues there as well. And after everything, but now that she's also come out to say that now it's going to be difficult for them to do anything pertaining to that, you know. Well. Well, you're best behind Tinubu at all. If you're listening to me this morning, what do you think about all that? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio, okay? Your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Updates from Nigeria. Now, security personnel have taken over Buhari's house. So, which house are they talking about? There has been a heavy deployment of security and intelligence personnel at the Buhari House National Secretariat of the ruling All Progressive Congress APC following expected visit of the party's presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate Senator Kashim Shettima to the secretariat. Now both men are scheduled to meet with Senator Abdullahi Adamu-led National Working Committee NWC party. Now both Adamu and Tinubu were in Jigawa State together on Tuesday, where they later donated 50 million naira to some disaster victims. APC had on Tuesday sent most of its staff on a one-day leave as part of measures to decongest the Buhari House National Secretariat of the party in preparation for the maiden visit of the presidential candidate of the party. You know, just a presidential candidate, but I mean, security and everything that is going on is more than the president himself. What do you think? Tinubu had days after his emergence as standard bearer of the party in June been slated to visit the secretariat, but the visit was later postponed. Well, good luck to them. We hope to see what will happen on that front. But thank you very much to each and every one of you who are tuned in today to listen to us or watch us on Starr Radio UK on any of our social media platforms. Now, Boko Haram banditry may end church in Nigeria if, and that's what the PFN president is saying. The Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria has warned the church in Nigeria not to deviate from the mandate and the tax before it's saying losing focus might end in disaster. The PFN president, Bishop Francis Wale Oke, who gave the warning during Sword of the Spirit Ministry Holy Ghost Convention 2022 in Ibadan, Oyo State, cautioned the church to be careful and avoid every temptation that might lead to cross into the domain of hate and bitterness. He said the future of the church in Nigeria is glorious. Listen to this. Boko Haram is no problem. Banditry is no problem. Kidnapping is no problem. They are happening. They are real. But the church has to be careful. Let's not enter into their territory. Now, let's not reply with hate and bitterness because that is not our domain. We are in the domain of love. They are in the domain of hate. If we cross over from our domain to their domain, we will lose. That is not our native territory. We are not fitted for it. So do you think that if you are a member of you are a congregant, you go into church and then you know that there's an attack? I mean, there's a tendency. I mean, was it a few months ago when there was an attack on a parish, a Catholic church? Yeah, I remember that, and some people were shot dead and some abducted as well. Now, do you think that the members, we said, we will not do anything, let them come? Now, what security measures have they even put in place to make sure that whoever is coming in is not wielding anything or any explosives or anything of the sort? So at times, I wouldn't disclose what I really am behind the scenes, but at times I think that our people, when they come up with some of this statement, I think they need to think through it properly. Now, if you got a faith that you think that, well, they are killing people, but I would still want to just continue, plow on and get in there, fine. But don't let other people do so. Put measures in place. If not, if you're a Christian, you are a believer, when you are sleeping, you all leave your doors open because you know that God is, angels are taking care of you, isn't it? So why do they close their doors? And why do they have some, when the preacher man, somehow, I don't want to bring church here, but then you see some of them preaching, and then we have proper security, body, macho, well-built guys standing left and right, some in the middle, making sure that nobody comes to attack them. But these individuals have not got anything of the sort. So I think that he has to come again. What do you think? All right then. So now let's move on to a couple of other stories. We've told Britain and others that what will happen if Northerner becomes president. Pandef is saying, what is Pandef, or who are Pandef? The Pan Niger Delta Forum, that is a Pandef, has vowed that it will mobilize Nigerians to reject the emergence of another northern president in the forthcoming 2023 presidential election. So is it that from the fourth position, they are against the PDP's flag bearer? Because he is a northerner. The National Publicity Secretariat, Pandef, Ken Robinson, made this known when the leadership of the organization paid presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Prince Adewale Adebayo, a consultative visit on Tuesday in Abuja. Now, Pandef planned to organize people from Niger Delta creeks to clamp down on the alleged injustice against southern Nigeria. He said that under the current administration, some sections of the country have been treated as if they do not exist. Adding that among the 17 military, paramilitary, and intelligence security agencies in the country, 14 of them are headed by northerners and only 3 from southern Nigeria. Now, he further noted that the Nigerian National Petroleum Commission Limited has 11 key management and board members, pointing out that while the North has 7 of these members, the South can boast of 4. When the campaign starts, we will mobilize ourselves, speak to good Nigerians in northern Nigeria and in the southern Nigeria, while the next president of Nigeria should come from the southern part of Nigeria. Anything short of that, we are not saying this is a threat. Yes, we were in the meeting with people from the Dutch embassy 3 days ago. I was in a meeting with the British High Commissioner, and we told them this thing, that Nigeria will no longer be what it has been if the next president goes to the north. Now, the statement is not a threat. We are serious. We will mobilize our people in the creeks, in the farmlands, to the streets across Nigeria to work together. Now, Robinson added that the consultation with southern presidential candidate is to ensure that a credible leader emerges by 2023. The presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Adewale Adebayo, who received leadership of Pandef in Abuja, said the meeting was part of conversation that will help unite Nigeria. Adebayo said that for him, it was all about the unity of the country. The unity of Nigeria is number one, he said, insisting that there was no room for casting doubt on the continuity of Nigeria. So you know what? Some people are of hope that Nigeria is going to continue. But Adebayo said that for him, it was all about the unity of the country. The unity of Nigeria is the number one. He said, insisting that there was no room for casting doubt on the continuity of Nigeria. Adebayo vowed that not even a single square meter of the country will be taken away. Niger Delta has been a source of stupendous wealth, but nothing can be cured with justice, Adebayo added. Well, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It's all your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, one final story from Nigeria. There's a picture of Tinubu sitting reading and having his hand on his cheeks, thinking, I think this old man has to go and rest. Or he thinks that he's going to be the boss man. And then he get people to be taking and doing all the rounds and the runarounds for him. Now, ahead of 2023 general election, leaders and members of the ruling All Progressive Congress under the aegis of the North Central APC Forum has called on the party's presidential flag bearer, Bola Tinubu, to re-strategize his political calculation. The group said Tinubu was mistaking the entire Nigeria for Lagos, adding that he was being ill-advised by a few individuals and that he doesn't appear to understand the North. This was disclosed by chairman of the forum, Alhaji Saleh Sazaga, while speaking with journalists in Jos, the Plateau State capital. He said Tinubu was so mistaking Nigeria as a whole with Lagos State and parts of Southwest, where he has much influence. Sazaga said, what Tinubu does not understand is that the North particularly believes in anyone who believes in the region and the nation at large, and when they make up their mind to support, they do so wholeheartedly. From the way Tinubu is doing, he is yet to fully understand the entire nation, especially the North, and that is why he is still taking advice from few persons rather than expanding his outreach and knowledge of the nation. In a quote, he said, and that is why the likes of former President Olusegun Obasanjo is still seen as very intelligent when it comes to understanding all parts of the country. So if Tinubu is mistaking the entire nation for Lagos State or Southwest, then he could be in for a surprise come 2023. Nigeria is bigger than that. And besides, with the current challenges the nation is faced with, he needs to think outside the Lagos or Southwest region to show that he has a national solution to the nation's problem. And that is where I bring to an end the updates from Nigeria for today. And let me say thank you very much once again to Mr. Olayomi Koiki, though not feeling well, yet he is trying his best to bring us all that you need to know. Okay, my producer has marked one story from Nigeria. I said it's important. Let me put it across, and let me thank you very, very much for that. Now, this story says, as part of measures to end a nearly 7-month-old strike by the Academic Staff Union of University, that's ASU, the Nigerian government on Tuesday approved a 35% salary increase for professors in the nation's federal universities. The government also approved 23.5% increase for lecturers in the institution. The federal government also pledged to give the federal universities 150 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023 for refurbishment and another 50 billion naira for the payment of outstanding academic staff allowances. But the government said it will never again go into any agreement it does not have the resources to implement. Now, speaking at the meeting of pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors of federal university held at the National University Commission, the Minister of Education, Adamu, said the government was determined to end the strike. He highlighted various steps the government took to end the strike since February 14, when ASU downed tools. According to him, the federal government could only pay 23.5% salary increase for all categories of the workforce in the federal universities, except the professional cadre, which will enjoy a 35% upward review. So, well, would that break the impasse now? Let's see what happens as the days unfold. And let me say good morning once again to Anthony Adedeji. Hope you are doing very well, sir. All right then, so we take a quick break and I bring you all the other stories making the rounds in other parts of Africa as well. As you know, today is a Wednesday edition of the morning show, and therefore the program finishes exactly at 12 o'clock. So we can take you to the maiden edition of the Prime Minister's Question Time for Liz Truss. Yes, it's going to be taking place exactly at 12 o'clock. All eyes on there. We want to see what she's going to be doing. All right then. But now, let's take a quick break and we come back. I bring you what you need to know when it comes to what is happening in
Getting
Africa.
onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source